So this video is intended for the parents or teachers who want to implement this kind of game or exercise and what you need to take care of. So first of all, about the duration. I did try it on students of grade 3 and 4 for a whole week, like 40 minutes each day. And on Friday, on the 5th day, there was a spread about the time needed to solve it. So the best students solved the exercises in 2 minutes, whereas the weaker students needed whole 10 minutes for it. Any time is great because the tasks are really challenging and they are usually not part of a usual curriculum. They are hard, they're intended to be hard, but any solution, good solution, is already really great. And for the aids that you can use it, ideally in the end especially, you shouldn't be using any aids at all, but imagining in your mind, as I said. But the weaker students in this regard used the kind of help where I allowed them to use the chessboard, but the back side of the chessboard, so they don't see the patterns and the numbers or the squares. And I gave them 2 or 3 pounds at the start. And what they used is they put, for example, if the task was to get from e2 to d7 again, they put on e2 their square, so the bishop they wanted to put there. Then on d7 they imagined that it's there, so to speak. And then they could imagine the path way a bit easier, so they had to keep not as many things in mind. And about keeping in mind, it's also important for you to understand that for a child it's really hard to remember 4 things at once. That's probably the very first time that they really need to use it, because they need to remember the initial square, then the goal, then obviously the square that they're checking right now. For example, from e2 to d7 you need to go to a 3 and then checking the diagonal, and the square that you are currently checking, so to speak, where you're walking through. So this is 4 different things that they need to remember just to solve the task, and it's a really great thing that they can solve it in the end, and it trains their minds significantly. But at the start it's completely fine, or get used to it, that they will ask you to repeat the task because they forgot it. But you need to remind also them to listen carefully and to remember it, so that they really can take the full use out of this exercise. And finally, what you should do is to start with squares that are close to each other, so you don't need to go as far, and to keep the concentration afloat, because if the path is really long, then you need to concentrate and not do any mistakes. So the closer the path, the easier it is to get the correct solution. And then once they can go with it, you can go further paths and so on. And start with solutions that have 2 possible solutions, and only then maybe change to the challenge to 1 solution only, or even no solution at all. And the whole target is basically the children have to get the correct solution without any additional help. If you are further on in this course, you can also do the exercises by reversing them. So for example, let them find a way from c4 to f7, and then right away after they gave the solution, get the path from f7 to c4. And obviously, because of the symmetry, it's the same solutions, but you can check how many children will find it on their own and how many will do the task from start on, and whether they can get it afterwards. If you really like this exercise, then there's a possible progression to it. I used it only once in the 4 times that I did it in my weekly courses. And what's possible is to do the same exercises using the knights as chess pieces. And therefore, if you start with the knights, then you start with close challenges. So like close, I mean only two, such that the knight has only to move two moves to get to the square. And then you continue with the solution heads to take 3 moves and then 4 moves and so on. Another side benefit of it is that the children are learning how the knight is moving and all the possible different routes. And for some students it was actually even easier than the game with the diagonals. If you really need to progress even further, then the next step is for a full-fledged chess player, so to speak, upcoming, is to visualize the whole chessboard, or at least some pieces of it. So the next task that I did with chess students is to imagine just a king, a queen, and the opponent's king. So white king, white queen, black king, and the position is a mate in one. And the students have to check all the moves, check the mate, find the mate, and check whether each square where the opponent king can move, is covered, so to speak. And I have a whole series about it that comes later, but this is an exercise that I would advise only for the interested players who are really interested in chess to do. But for the strategical games that are coming afterwards, the diagonal game is already close enough for everything that we need.